Good morning, all of you. I welcome all the participants of Manthan who are right now joining this session as a training session on problem statement INTL-CCR 12. And today we have with us as a trainer Mr. Mohsin Qureshi, and he will be covering the prominent parts of this problem statement. To know more about Mohsin is having 7 years of experience in ethical hacking, web development, application securities with his skills like JavaScript, Ruby, Mongodb, data security, and ethical hacking practices. Also, Mohsin is having an expertise in the penetration testing and currently working on the projects with IBM. Mohsin is an perfect example of an excellence in the ethical hacking and application security design. Mohsin, welcome to the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning to all. So,
Okay. I'm just handing over the podium to Mohsin so that he can start the session of the training based on this problem statement. Over to you, Mohsin.
yeah, thank you. Okay. So, let me start. And today, just cover a theoretical part about the proxies and VPN, right? And then we will move on to the practical. But today is not possible for the practical. Right, we are just more the focus on what is a VPN and how does the VPN work on, and then proxy servers and all that, right? So this program, the problem. There is a we need for the some proxy, the honeypots create, and then some strategies used for the tracking the IP address behind of the proxies and VPN, right? But before this practical, before this creating of the servers, we most the focus on the theoretical part, okay, how does it work and how do they hide the black hat hacker, the IP address and all, right? And guys, right. So let's move on to that. First, we just understand what the VPN. So the VPN is a virtual private network. So now I just mostly a focus on the networking part, right? So because this work on the networking area. So we also know the understand I think so the OSI model. So the OSI model is the same 7 layer, right? And when you communicate with the Googles or any website or any server, so first your request to reach on the routers, and the routers is ISP server, then ISP server is to ISP server and the internet, and then reach on the servers, right? Let me just explain in which is the way we follow as a normal network, the normal networking, right? And then we will just apply the VPN and hide the IP address, and then we move on to the proxies, because the proxies and VPN, they are the different technologies, there are different things, right, which is running on the networking, right? So now, first we work on the VPN understand, and then we move on to the proxy, right? And I have the TalOS. I'll just show you okay, how to the hide the IP address when the attacker is attack on the any websites or any, the network, right? And also, you know, the getting the informations and the service reading of the data by the hiding IP address, right? So so let me just explain it how this work on the normal network first, and then we will move on to the okay, how to then apply to the VPN on there, and how to the protect your IP address. But so the most of the companies is use the VPN, right, for the communicate with the department and so, as a secretly as a with the terminal, right, as a encrypted all the packages, and also this is the mitigation of the man in the middle attack, and there is some for breach of the data, right, attack is the mitigate of using the VPNs, right? So let me explain first. Sorry guys, I'm really sorry for my voice. It's too cold, too much cold, right? So now, so I think so. It's visible. It's visible. Oh no, I think so. Just try to. Okay. All right. So now, so first, yes, understand, what actually how does it work as a normal network on the network, right? So you are right now your router, right? And please, guys, do not mind my writing and my drawing is very bad because I'm engineer. So that's why. And you also, because if you are in India, so you are focused on mostly on the typing and the keyboard screen as well, right? So now, so this is cell phone, right? Or your cell phone, or your the laptop and desktop, whatever that, right? So any host machine, and the networking language we call as a host machine, not the devices, because it's a host machine. That means that include all the devices in the host, right? So the IoT devices and your cell phone, laptop, desktop, servers, any each of them we call as a host machine, right? And there is a Google server. I just try to communicate with the Google, right? So, and there is a ISP server, which is we also know the ISP, internet service provider, whatever that, any internet service provider, right? So your Jio, Dandanadan, and Airtel, Vodafone, whatever that, any other ISP server, right? But this ISP server is connect with the internet, right? And this one is ISP server is different, running on the Google area, and then Google area is also have the routers. I will show you as a as a practically, and some commands is follow and just check out what is actually the path follow your IP address. Sorry, your packet, right? So first, I'm just communicate with the Google, right? Let me I'm just mention which is better understanding of this thing, right? So I'm just try to the router, or we call as a gateway, right? As a technical language, we call as a gateway, right? And this is the ISP server, and this is our device we call as a host machine, right? Host, and this is a network, internet, right? And again, this ISP server of the router, the Google. I don't know which is the ISP server there, right? And also there is a the router or gateway of what the Google. And this is a Google server, right? Let me just try to Google server. Right. Now, first I'm just communicate with the Google. So my machine is not directly communicate with the Google because it's not possible. First, your packet you reach to the router, then router is ISP server, and then ISP server is check the internet, and then this internet is communicate with the ISP server. So the ISP server have uh, you know the history of data. So it's basically a check on the routers, and the router is good, right? But in the router, there is a one service is running, which is convert your packet to the private to the public, right? So because this area is a publicly area and this area is a privately area, right? So let me show you the IP address of our the private area, or private area IP address. So the private area means just communicate with the router, right? So my machine is a Kali machine. Used for the personal machine is a use the Kali, right? Let me just type to the ifconfig the command, and as you can see here, this is the our IP address which is running on them privately, because all the story, all the play as a game in there. So using the IP address, and also that thing, because without the IP address, if you transfer in any packet, is not possible. Now the point, there is this two type of addresses work on your the system. One is a your physical address, right? Or call is a MAC address, and this is a logical address. If you try to the find out someone by the logically address, so sometime is a hacker is a hide that, right? So that is actually the problem, which is a yeah, find out the actual location of the the person of the hackers or third party of the hackers, right? The black hat, right? So but this one is very important, right? So the MAC address, because the MAC address is this unique identity, I think so, as you know. And we can easily spoof also the MAC address, right? because when I try to the man in the middle attack, so I just try to the spoofing of the MAC address of the router. So I can easily the spoof also the MAC address, right? And also we have spoof the IP address. But I will just find out okay, what actually are behind of the IP address of the proxies and hit others. So this is the private IP address, which is my device IP address. But let me check out the route. I'll just put on the command this route, and as you can see, this is my gateway IP address. So this gateway IP address, that means this is the router IP address, and this is my host IP address. When I'm communicate with the sorry, when I communicate with the Google, so the first packet, my packet is reached to the router, and the router the service, that service is called as a NAT, the network address translator, right? So the network address translator, that means is basically a translate your IP address to the publicly and then public to the private. Because when you communicate with the Google, so your packet is reached onto the router, and the router is running on the private area, right? And also the publicly area. But the publicly areas connect with the router by using the services NAT, network address translator, right? So now your packet is reached over the router, and the router have the service, and then the service is the NAT, right? And then NAT is reach your packet on the publicly area, and the publicly area is the internet, and the internet is ISP server, and then ISP server is the router. So this area is totally called is you know what, the publicly area. But this area, right? So under the we call as a intranet, right? So the intranet part of we call as a privately area, or extranet we call as an internet area, we call the publicly area. All right. So this is a without VPN or proxies, so that the communication is happen, right? So when you when you communicate with the Googles, and Google is respond back you, so it's basically a path is followed like that. So how many are junctions in there? So one is the router junction, is ISP server, and internet, and ISP server, and router. Right. So this is actually the path, right? How many junction of the publicly area? One, two, three, and how many the privately area? One, two, and two. Right. So there's this two privately connection, the internet, and this is the publicly connection, right? So the client have the static dynamic IP address, right? But the server have the statically IP address, right? And because the server is on the cloud, so that's why the server is need the static IP address, right? But if you want to the communicate, I just explain in one more scenarios, and then after we just check out as a practical command, we just check out, and then check the actually the path case just follow on it, right? So I'll just go to the next part of the the next scenario. The scenario is your office in the UK, and one office in your India, right? So my business is too big, so that's why there is just two offices in my in UK and also my India. So if I am connect with my UK office, if I am connect with my India office, so I need for the static IP address, which is the communication, right? So there's this running on the private network, the both area, right? Because the different router. But I just want to the connect the need for the stability, or the need actually the connection with this server. So uh, we need what, the internet. So the internet is provide the communication like that. But the VPN actually, VPN is actually is work on this area mostly of the company, the office to office communication, right? So for example, an office in UK and Dubai, and there are just so many offices on your the branches on the whole world. So if you want to, there's a privately communication as a using the internet, so we need for the tunnel, right? So the tunnel means is a totally the secure way. And that is actually the the security is a provide for if that someone is a try to the attack on the mid area, or collecting of the information. It's not possible, because this is a basically a totally a work on the tunnel. So the private to privately connect with the private network to privately network connect. But we need for the mediator, that mediator is ISP server, right? So this is the actually this is the actually the security, which is the transfer the data to the as a privately. But hacker is used for this technology for the illegal activities, because we also know each of everything is a positive and also the negative, right? So the hacker is used for the hide the IP address, or hide the IP address in the internet, right? So yeah, just try to that, okay, if that hacker is tried to the using the VPN as attack on my server, so how to the collect the actual informations, and how to then the log file, and how does it work, right? So in this problem statement, we just try to the some programming concepts of the python, right? So the python and some technical also, and some server configuration also. So I'm just explain each of everything as a practical part is better understand, okay, how to the create the servers, and how to the create the script, which is the find out and each of everything. But now we just understand about, okay, how does it work on the VPN and proxies and also. All right. So now my communication is running as a privately VPN, but I'm not using the VPN because this is actually the explain, right? So how does it communicate with that? So without the VPN, when I'm communicate, so the attacker on here is basically is attack on the mid area, right? When an attack is attack on the mid area, so that means this collect the information and credentials, and each of everything is easily stealing on from here, right? So that's why we have find out that that person what actually the IP address is running on that. So it's basically using on here the VPN, which is the hide the IP address, and then the tag, right? So now the VPN is mostly the powerful for the privately connection is correct. So the VPN is a virtual private network. So this is basically a create the virtually private network, right? Which is the connect with the one device, one network to the another network, right? So I have not the slide right now, right? Because I'm not teach using the slide. I don't know. I actually it's more for when I'm using the slide, right? So I'm just to do that as a practical part, and I'm also do most of the focus on that, right? So let's try to. So let me. I'm just type the first. I'm just when I'm sending the request to the ping request to the Google. All right. So and as you can see, they show the the IP address of the Google, right? So the IP address of the Google, because my all the requests is the ICMP packets is reached on the Google, and then Google reply back me, okay, you are the this. But the question is that, sir, it's not show the any the path. The path means the way, which is the sending the request to the Google. So I just want to the checkout, okay, which is the path is follow the Google, right? Your system to the Google, and then Google is to your system. So let me just transfer to the file to the Google, and then let's check out, okay, how to the which other path is follow, and which is my ISP server IP address, and which is my public IP address, and all of that this thing, right? So I just put on that command is trace route, right? And the trace route, that means this is the command which is the trace the route, okay, which the route is follow your the packets, right? So first your packet is reached on the routers, and router is to the ISP server, and ISP server to the internet to the ISP server, again the servers, and like that, right? So let's just check out the help command again. And as you can hear, there's so many options on there. But right now, I just try to the IP version 4, because we have work on the currently is IP version 4. We also know because this is the advanced, the news, this is a new technology, the IP version 6. So I've not worked on that yet on this IP version 6. We have worked on the IP version 4 already. That. But the most of the server is running on the IP version 4, and maybe in the future 2022 or 2023, maybe is the all the server is running on the IP version 4. But right now we work on IP version 4, right? So I just try to that trace route, and then I'm just use for the IP, the 4, because the option is a 4, and let me just send the packet to the Google, right? Let's check out. And as you can see here, there's a show the path, right? The follow, right? And this each of junction is show the addresses, right? The IP addresses. So first your router IP address, because first your request to reach on the router, right? Let me just explain also the private, there. Yeah, this one now, right? So, and as you can see, let me just explain it also. So, your cell phone or your laptop, which is the communicate with the privately, right? So, this one. So first is this one, right? So it's communicate with the router. So the router IP address 192.168.18.1 is my right, and then after this is the ISP router, this ISP server, right? So let me check out what is my current IP address running on my system, right? So I'm just put on there. What is my IP address? What is my IP address? And as you can see, there's a network. The network ID is 162 and 24 and 20. 241. Right. So this is my ISP server. The public IP address, but it is show on the 161. Right. 224, and that's actually the one. So the one we are most of the the router is work. So that being this is the ISP. The ISP server, the router. Right. So first I'll reach my route. The request to the my gateway, and then after this gateway, and then after this gateway, and then after this gateway, and then reach on to the Google server, the Google IP address. So let me just show you the Google IP address. So this is the Google IP address, and we just check on this Google IP address. So this is actually the routing of a right. The trace route is basically the command easily check out okay what actually the path is follow your the normal network, right? The normal network. And now let's apply on here the VPN. So the first let me just understand about the VPN. Okay, what is a VPN? But I'm used for the resources on the Google because I have no slide on all that. So I just use for the references of the Google, right? So I just put on then VPN, and right. So the VPN is a virtual private network, which is work for provide the security in the mid area for the end to end, right? So there is this three types of VPN is used for the access remote, and there's this three type of let me just discuss later about that, but just understand about if that the communicate with the privately, so we need for the VPN. So right, so it's basically make the tunnel, and the tunnel is provide the end-to-end encryptions, right? For example, if you transfer any the request to the Google, so your IP address and your request totally is hide, because there is actually a problem. Let me just explain, right? So there is this two way of our there's this two things in the running of the OSI model. One is the application layer. So the top three layers is based on an application for applications as an representation, right? We also know, right? And then bottom four layer we call as a TCP IP address, which is a call is the IP header part. So the IP header part means all this IP header part is totally you know call as this is the basically the plain text information, right? So the IP header part is totally a plain text, or your data payload part is totally encrypted, right? So the VPN is work on your IP header part, right? If your the VP if your internally part, or if your the TCP IP address part, if you're the encrypted, so it's not easy to the it's not easy to the find out the someone, because the all the information is totally the hidden by the VPN, because the VPN is work on the top four layers part, right? So let me just explain this one more thing in there. So and then we is then we better understand about to the VPN, right? Now the IP header, right? So I just typed the IP header. Oops. All right. So as you can see, this is the IP header. Let me just show the images. So in the IP header, there is a there is so many things on there. I will just explain also the practical, right? And also the we have to show what kind of the thing is running on the IP header part, right? So let me just show you all that, right? And I think so is better understand, right? And I think so you're visible this thing, right? So and as you can see the version means the first information in the IP header. The version is which version which version your IP version 6 IP address, version 4 IP address, right? And after that This one is length of the header, right? And this is a service type and total length of the packet, right? So identity flag, right? There is a TCP IP address. When you use for the TCP IP address, there is a six flag, which is the provide the reliability, connection reliability, for the SYN flag, acknowledgement flag, and these kind of things. So fragment set of TTL value protocols and hash chunk and source IP address and destination IP address, and that your data is totally at the hidden. Or sorry, that is your data is totally the encrypted by the SSL certificate or by the or the TLS also. But the VPN is work on this area, right? On this area because it's hide your IP address. Let me show you as a practical, right? Or show you as a right. So I'm just start my Wireshark. So the Wireshark tool is right. So Wireshark tool, the packet analyzer, right, or the network analyzer. Let me check out. So as you can see here, all right. So and as you can see, right, so the all the packet is running because right arms communicate with the by the video call and audio call. So that's why this all the packets is using for the UDP, because the video call and audio call is work on the UDP. But we are not focusing on the transport layer and all that. We are just focused on the network layers, right? So the network layers, because the most of the work on the network layer, and the DRIP is work on the network layer, right? Not the data link layer also, because the data link layer is a work on then physically address your MAC address and all, right? But we work on the network layer. So the network layer means this the hide your IP address. So that's a thing, right? So let's check out on here, right? So this is the data payload. When I check out the data is totally the encrypted, right? I'm not access them there, but the user datagram protocol, this is the UDP. But let me check out the internet, right? And as you can see here, I don't know. So this is our the server IP address, which is under communicate, and this is our source IP address. The source IP address is mine IP address, and this is the private IP address, right? So there is no show any the router IP address or anything, because it's basically is a communicate first the routers, and the router is a mediator, which is the transfer the request to the Google, right? So that's why it does show there the the IP address of the servers and your IP address, right? So and there's actually the version header length. Let me just show you, which is the last of there. So version, header length, service total, and source IP address and destination IP address is all this, right? Right, and as you can see, so the IP address, so both IP addresses shown, right? And this is the version, IP version 4. And when I'm check out on the services, and each of every information easily you just fragment on that the show on your the Wireshark. So the Wireshark is a better tool for the analyst your packet, what is actually requesting and what the responding and what is the IP address and all that. So this tool definitely we need for this problem statement is solved, right? So and I just suggest you all the guys please work on it on it, right? So in Wireshark, because this is the very important tools for the checking the requesting and all that, right? So let's try to the using the VPN and the proxies. But I have no the VPN because we need for the purchase of VPN, and then we work on it, right? So there is so many VPN is a provider that the Norton, and there is so many VPNs, right? So but let me I'm just explain okay how this work on the VPN. So the VPN is work on this area part because the source IP address and all the communication is totally the hidden, and then connect with the servers VPN server, and then use the R IP address and then country wise the country wise, right? Like that. So let I'm just go on there, right? For example, I'm just communicate with the Google by using the VPN server, right? Or the VPN, right? So this is the Google routers, and this is my router, right? I just want to the communicate. I just want to the attack on the Google, because I'm not say to the as a normally communicate using the VPN. I'm just I just assume that the scenario is that okay, someone is attacker and which is the attack on my network. So so how to the connect with the VPN and how to the attack on the VPN, right? So so this is the totally communication is the privately network. So we're not focused on the privately, because the privately network is a internet is work, right? Is a deal with the router, right? But I just to find found actually the ISP server. So ISP server. So ISP server mean the internet service provider, right? So the internet service provider, if you find out the internet service provider IP address, so easily you just track down, okay, the person where is exist, right? When I'm check out my location by the IP address, so I'm just easily tracked down, right? And is a nearby, but you can easily contact with the ISP server, get that IP address is connect this particular time. So you can you find out, okay, this IP address which the connection is used for that time, right? So the ISP server is also the help for the the track down actually the IP address, because of sometime. And for example, I'm connect with the VPN, so the VPN definitely the connect with this ISP server, because without the ISP server you're not, because the internet is need for, right? So that's why. So there is a ISP server is work on there, and this is the VPN on here, right? So I just connect with the VPN first, and then we just transfer the data on with the attack on the server, right? So there's a VPN, right? Right. So, for example, the VPN is Norton or whatever that any VPN. So I'm just to communicate with this ISP server, and sorry, the ISP and an ISP is connect with this the VPN, and then after my request is totally as a different location. Sure. When I'm transfer, when a IP address is used for that, right? For example, this VPN IP address is locked on my the ITS or IPS, right? I just want to the find out, okay, the IP address who the attack on my server. So I'm just when I'm when I'm to trace this IP address, so this location is a different, sure, right? Let me show you also my location and also using the IP address, which is a better relate for that, right? And then we are just trying to the some approaches used for the finding of the actual IP address, right? So IP address. So IP address is easily the way to easily find out what is your IP address and where this location actually. So and each of everything. Let me just do this. All right, my IP address. And as you can see, this is my IP address, and easily I detect on the length of which is the ISP server I'm use, and my city is right now is Agra, right? But it's not the correct location of the Agra, right? Because I'm living on the different city, right? And this is the Uttar Pradesh, and then country is India. So easily I just detect by IP address and trust by the actual the ISP server, but if that IP address is changed, so you not the actual location you find. We try to the some approaches. We create the honeypots and some payloads and some kind of the juicy information or put on there. The hacker is hack on the juicy information and then track down. But there is actually involved the geolocation. For example, our country is enemies is China and Pakistan, right? So for example, attacker is use the Pakistan proxy server or VPN server. So when I'm contact with this Pakistan, so the Pakistan is not get any informations about this IP address. You who disconnect with that. When I'm contact and someone hacker is try to the China, right? Use the VPN. When I'm contact with this, my government is contact with this guy. This guy, I just want to the information okay, who this guy. So it's not giving that information. So there's actually a problem with that, with the geolocation, right? Because there is a different territory actually. The Indians does not get the not giving the any the information of the correctly. So that's why we try to on here in the server we are try to the honeypot, so that create the honeypot which is giving the all information as well. So someone hacker is when the download from the files on there and easily we track down. As a practically I will explain on each of everything of creating a servers and all that. But right now we just understand about okay, how to the the hide your or the IP address, right? And as you can see, this is my IP address when I'm used for the proxy server, because right now I have no the VPN. But let's try to that try to use the proxy server. So I'm just using the Tor browser, right? And let's check out by the Tor browser that communication or check out, okay, what is my IP address actually when I'm used for the Tor browser. So the Tor browsers provide the security, right, as a hide the or the IP address, right. And then Tor, we can also the discuss about to the Tor and proxies and also, but right now I have no the VPN, so that's why I'm just work on and show you as a practically, right, for the using the Tor, right. So let's check out the lead DNS, lead DNS. All right, and just a little bit slow. Why the little bit slow? Because the proxy is using for the different servers, so that's why. So let me just type to the DNS, leave DNS, and also let me just to open my actual the normal browser. So this is the normal browser and this is the proxy browser. All right. So this browser is use the proxy and this browser is use. All right. So what? Uh, the normal browsing. So shows that. There we go. Right. So this is my normal browser and this is my proxy. All right. So this is my normal browser. This one. So it's used for the actual location and an actual IP address of my right. But this is the proxy. The proxy browser is a Tor browser, right? And it's used the different IP address. When I'm check out on there, so this is the IP address is different, and this one is this. That means okay, this Tor browser is connect with the proxy, and then the request is sent. So let's search, the search on my IP address on that the track, right? I'm just right. So let me just show you. Yep, I'm just put on this IP address with the details of that. So I'm just give this IP address and then get the information. All right, and as you can see here, there is a different location show. So that actually a problem when the attacker use the Tor browser attack on the SQL injection or some kind of the kind of the dangerous attack on the server. So we are not to find out actual location of the IP address. And as you can see here, the IP address in the location is a different, right? As you can see, and the ISP server is all the different is also right. We all know. And for example, if you just just assume that okay, this country is enemy or this country is not communicate with the India. So when I'm communicate with this country and I just want to the get information about this IP address, who they connect with this that, so it's not giving about informations about that because the country to country we also know there is actually the problem with this different country and as with the India country, right? So that is actually a thing. So now we are try on here, for example, if that attack on the server, we just collect the just hacker is hack the any files on there, we just put on the data as hide on the data in this hide on the payload in the in the payload, right? So we just hide the payload in the file for the XML file, or sorry, Excel file or doc file, and we just give this name of juicy like that, so password credentials and all that. So yes, hacker is collect on the data and then easily, right? But that is actually a problem when you work on the proxy server. This one, the proxy browser is only the protect your http requests. It's not the all the all the network. But there is a one more for example, attacker is used a different approach, right? So now right now, right? So for example, the attacker is use the proxy server, right? So the proxy, the browser, right? The Tor browser is only the protect hackers HTTP request, right? But it's not the whole network, right? But when the attacker is protect the whole network, so is use the different operating system, right? And different approaches, right? So let me show you, okay, which is the operating system is used, the attacker, and how to the protect the IP address hidden on the areas, right? So there is two type of the operating system used for the attacking, right? Most of, right? So one is the TalOS and second is the CubeOS, right? Let me show you the cubes. Cube. What's cube? think so. This that right. Yeah, that well, this is my favorite operating system. And if you use a dark web or if you use any attack or malicious attack, is based on the on this TELOS is based on the Linux operating system. Easily you configure your Linux operating system, and if you want any attack, so for exactly I just try to the attack on the brute forcing or the password attacking or any attack is malicious is used. The mostly the black hat hacker is use the TAL-OS because the TAL-OS is protect the whole network, all the requests. It's not the browser request. It's all the network. For example, I'm the brute forcing attack on this network. So my all the requests are the protected. So that is actually a problem with the dialers because we not get the information and then perfectly because this is a very powerful operating system is currently right. And one of the most popular guys, and that guy name is the guy name is what the name is I can't remember that man name. Yeah, Snowden, right? So this one guy. So this one guy is also the mentioned okay, the Cube OS and Tal OS is very secure to it is not that easily to find to the person IP address. But that is actually a problem. For example, assume that okay, I because I just assume okay, I'm the worst case, not the average case. I'm just worst case. For example, attacker is perform the attack by the using the platform is a Tal OS. So how to the find out this IP address, right? How to the find out the actual IP address, right? So let me just show you, right? When I'm used for the TAL OS as a, the practical, let me just try to the virtual box and then, right? So I'm already configured in my virtual box is TAL OS, right? Can easily a download for that because you need also that, right? For this one, the operating system, because for the practice, right? If that the try to the attack, you can easily, need for the, for the testing, okay, if attacking on that, so how to the get it, right? Like that. So I just start with this one and then we just work on it. And the TalOS is a live operating system. That is actually the problem with the again. If you find out that someone laptop and suspected laptop, so you not get any information in the RAM and any hardware because this is a live operating system. You can just make the pen drive, plug the pen drive, and then do the attack, perform the attack. So that's why it's not create the the random memory and the RAM volatile memory and also the non-volatile memory. So this is actually a problem with this the machine. All right. And most of the black hat hackers use the TALOS and QoS. Why? Because it's the protect the whole network, right? And when the protect the whole network, so you cannot easily detect this person IP address, right? That's actually a problem. But the network administrator or the security person is use the different approach. Okay, for example, if that someone is used for the TALOS, so what the use or the approaches we can discuss later about that, but not for the today because the today we just explain each of the need for the tools and also the the tool and understanding of the VPN also, right? So I'm just start for the TALOS first. Let's check out. All right, and just a wait. Actually, it's take time for the starting because this is a live operating system. All right, and as you can see here, and this is the actually pre-install all the Tor browser or the Tor network or the Tor Onion router, right? We can discuss later about to the Onion router and how to the use for that. And sometimes hacker is use a proxy bouncing, right? And I think so. Did you watch the movies? Some movies is Jason One, right? And as a Bollywood movies, one more Wednesday, right? So the Wednesday movie, the Nasruddin Shah, the actor. is use a proxy bouncing, right? It's basically the changing the location every second or every time, right? So this is the actually the sometime is used for the proxy bouncing. If that kind of the scenario is facing on your side, or the so so you can not easily exact location, but we are try to the some payload inject and then file and then send to the attackers system, and we get the informations about that. But as a practically we can work on, right? Also, so maybe as day after tomorrow, and also or maybe as tomorrow, right? So, and as you can see here, there is two things. One is the we are recommended connect with the automatically and with a public Wi-Fi network. The many people in this country use for the circuit, and this one. So hide my local network and just connecting also to safe. I'm just used for this, but automatically connecting with this configuration at the bridge, Tor or like that. So I'm just connect with the configure to the bridge, right? And I'm just used for the default bridge right now because I just only for the connection. And as you can see, there is a show the cross, on here, and the onion, and there is no IP address is show when I'm show on my onion. All right, let's check out. And as you can see, so when I'm click on the any bridge, so and as you can see, there's a given the informations about to the fingerprint, the encrypted and all that, right? So, and as you can see, there's a provide the IP address of that. So the bandwidth is this, and an IP address location, and this is the USA and DL, right? So that's why a TalOS is used, right? So the proxies bouncing, right, is a change the location every minute or every 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and it's not easy to the trust this one person, right? Let's check out. Let me just put on there. This is a Linux machine, and if you experience the Linux machine, so you can easily install the Kali tools or attacking tool in the the TalOS and easily. But I'm not promote for the illegal activities. I'm just show you the actually the scenario, right? and and please do not try to using for the TalOS and some malicious attack, because this is a very dangerous, right? So let's check out on the proxies, right? So there's a already a provide the Tor browser. So one of the security is running on the internally, and also the provide the proxies on the browsers, right? So that's a check out. It's a little bit slow because this is a live operating system, so that's why that's take the some time for the loading of the program. Right, so let's try to the leak DNS. Why I'm just check the leak DNS, because I'm just check out okay, what actually IP address is running on my the proxies. All right, all right. Let's open that the DNS. All right, and now, and as you can see, the IP address is right now is a different, which is running on the ISP server, right? The DNS. When I'm check out on there, all right, and as you can see, so there's a different IP address. Let's try to the what is my IP address. So as a normal browser is use my actual IP address of the the BSNL or which is the provide the ISP server. So the public IP address, and let's trace out, right? Let me I'm just trace this IP address, and let's find out okay, what is the location is show on here, right? So my IP address, so it's back to that. So I just put on that trace All right, and now let me just put on the IP address of one dot 254 and 143 and 96, right? Let's find out. And as you can see, this is the actually the show my actual IP address, which is connect with the BSNL, right? So each of everything. But let me just search it and just find out. And as you can see, there's a different IP address in show, right? And as you can see, this is the city is right is a different, and ISP servers are different, right? So ISP server is usually different, and also the latitude or longitude. But there is actually a problem with this. Someone is use the IP address. Let's just show you. When I'm just restart this browser, again the change IP address. When I'm restart the browser, and again the change IP address, and when I'm the restart again, so as again. So and actually there's a problem with the with this problem, right? But and right. So the next session, we work on the solve this, the way of find out the actual the problem, right? The solution, right? Okay, how to the find out when the attacker is use the, Tal OS or Cube OS, right? And when the attacker is use a Tor browser, so what actually is the solution for the finding actual location of the hackers, right? So this is the today's session is totally for the awareness, right, about to the proxies and VPNs and TileOS and some tool we need for it. But I just suggest you all the guys, if you comfortable with the Python, so you can easily write the code, right? And if you're comfortable with the any language, any PHP or whatever that, so you can easily understand on that. And we need for the some server configuration, the information, the server, okay, how to the create the server and what kind of the, the service we need for the put on the our the honeypot on the privately, on the publicly network, right? So we can work on the tomorrow, right? And that's practically. And tomorrow we work on the creating the servers, right? I'm show you, okay, how to the create the server and how to the create the proxies. Sorry, the payloads, and which is for the finding the actual the location of the attacker, and some approaches we are used for that, right? And definitely tomorrow complete all this thing, this one, what is the idea, you get the idea, and then easily you create the server and all that, right? So, and I think so it is enough for the today. And guys, sorry for actually a little bit, know, the week, and because I just feel as a weak fever right now, so I'm not speaking very well, and things like that. But tomorrow definitely we work on the practically and damn technically part of the tomorrow, right? So that's it. And if you have any ask the questions about that, so you just ask me. I think so. It is enough. And yep,
Yeah, Mohsin. So
yep.
far, we are not having any questions in the live chat, but certainly we are going to share one short Excel so that we can upload all the answers on the dashboard of the team leaders. But
Okay, sure.
today's session was really good. The feedback is coming as really nice.
Thank you, sir.
Though you
Thank
are
you.
you're not well, but still we are very thankful that you gave your time and you share the knowledge on this particular problem statement, because we are receiving lots of queries on this problem statement.
Yeah, I know that. Actually, there's actually a problem. This attacker is attack on the network. We will not find out the actual location. But do not worry. I'll just find out the best way for the finding of this thing. And inshallah, right? So, and I hope so that you enjoy the today's session. And if you have any other problem with that, so you,
Yeah, we really
so
enjoyed,
this is,
and we will share the security list questions soon on your email ID so that we can show it on the dashboard. Thank you for
sure,
your
sure,
time,
sure.
Mosi, today.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you, Arindam.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.